Hey, do people call you fiery, hot-headed, explosive, volcanic? Have you ever needed time to cool off after a battle before you set fire to an entire kingdom? Well, congratulations! You might be a Wildfire Druid. But what is a Wildfire Druid? Well, find yourself some flame retardant underwear, make sure the fire department knows it most likely wasn't you this time, and prepare to be engulfed, because
I fell into a burning ring of fire.
Fire is beautiful, majestic, life-giving, but also terrifying. I don't think there's another natural phenomenon in history more beneficial to mankind, but also devastating if out of control. Fire can sustain you, help you cook your food, make sure you can survive in places with insanely cold climates, but also take everything you've ever known or cared about in a matter of minutes or hours. And that's what the Wildfire Druid is all about. While it's easy to imagine the Wildfire Druid as the tree hugger whose favorite spell is Fireball, it actually draws its strength from the cycle of creation and destruction, maintaining the natural order of growth and decay, and burning away the old and decrepit to make way for new life. Kind of like the phoenix rising from its own ashes, a Wildfire Druid's job is to nurture this growth without letting the blaze get out of hand. Most of the time. But maybe you're tired of looking at all these old rotten trees and think they'd be better off as an ash garden. How do you start cooking with fire? Well, the best way is to start out as a druid. Druids get spellcasting stemming from their natural connection to the world around them, which gives them access to the entire druid spell list that they can prepare from at the start of each day. Which gives druids an edge on pretty much every full casting class, as they don't have to hunt down ancient tomes like a wizard or hope their bloodline gives them cool stuff like a sorcerer, and instead act as a conduit for nature's might with the flexibility to swap out spells for whatever the next encounter might call for. You also speak Druidic, which is a language only druids know, allowing you to not only communicate with other druids through words or hidden messages in the trees, but also fight with the rogue over whose secret language has the best secret handshakes. Second level of Wildfire gets us Wild Shape, which is a wild ability and lets us take on a form of a beast from the wilds. My head hurts. But activating this ability lets you turn into something tiny like a squirrel to sneak around bad guys, or hefty like an elephant to just shit on them instead. What kind of beast you can turn into and at what level is determined by a handy chart, and gets better as you level up in Druid. But the best combo for you will be to cast your great concentration spells and then turn into something super hard to find and dip out of a room while the bad guys deal with the sleet storm you conjured. Sleet storm? No, wait. Oh yeah, get ready to raise hell and praise Dale, baby, because our new fire-themed spells are gonna turn everything within pissing distance into a pile of ash. And since we just picked up Burning Hands at this level, we can blast the bad guys in the face with a solid cone of 3d6 fire damage. But when the fires died down, there comes a time of healing. So we also grab Cure Wounds to allow us to heal allies that might have been caught in our blaze and start anew. Speaking of new life, our connection to the true essence of fire can also be made manifest when we summon our Wildfire Spirit. Now, instead of turning into a goat or a platypus, you can spend one use of your Wild Shape ability to call forth a flaming creature within 30 feet of you, dealing 2d6 fire damage to those within 10 feet of it on a failed dex save. You can also choose your spirit's form from a little twiggy fire elemental to a salamander who loves spicy food, and this creature grows in power as you level up. And while its ability to hurl fire seeds is nice, this creature's best ability is its fiery teleportation, allowing you to let your Wildfire Spirit piggyback on you or an ally and cause a small explosion as you both teleport 15 feet in any direction. This is one of the best teleporting abilities in the game because it's not tied down to any countdown of any kind. Your boy can just do this now, which makes things like cages or the grips of giant monsters pretty much obsolete. But we're ready to turn the heat back up, baby, as our third level druid spells now include Flaming Spear and Scorching Ray, to roll a flaming ball of fire around like a cat with a yarn ball and cause just as much chaos, or shoot down anything that happens to cross your line of sight with what amounts to fantasy space lasers. And at 5th level, we settle back into some relaxing renewal as we pick up the spell's Plant Growth to bring new life to every plant within a 100-foot radius as an action, forcing creatures moving through to be slowed dramatically as they try to weave through vines. Or spend 8 hours casting the same spell to allow all plants in a half-mile radius the opportunity to flourish as they become enriched for a year, doubling the amount of food that they will bring at harvest, as well as Revivify to bring back an ally who's recently passed and reignite the fire in their chests. Bouncing up to 6th level, our bond with our Wildfire Spirit is enhanced, allowing us to feed off its energy and do an extra D8 on any damaging or healing spell. And if the spell you're casting is ranged, it can originate from either you or the Wildfire Spirit, greatly extending what spells you can cast and when, as well as helping you keep your allies on their feet. 7th level gets us Fire Shield as we sucker punch anybody dumb enough to take a swing at us and deal damage to any creature that actually lands a hit. And Aura of Life to give allies resistance to necrotic damage and make sure their hit points cannot be reduced, as well as bouncing creatures at 0 hit points up to 1 instead. But we're here for Flame Strike, 9th level to bring down the Righteous Fury of the Divine on top of this nasty fire damage, and singe the whiskers off of any creatures within a 10-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder. Get the stuffing, kids, because the turkey is done. Or Mass Cure Wounds to give an uplifting 3d8 plus your Wisdom modifier and healing to 6 creatures you can see within 30 feet. How nice. Level 10 is here again, and we pick up the ability Cauterizing Flames. Now you can dig deep into the life fire of any creature that dies within 30 feet of you or your Wildfire Spirit and call forth a small spectral flame that dances around their body for a minute. This flame works for you, as you can spend your reaction to snuff the flame out anytime a creature enters that space, allowing you to heal or deal 2d10 plus your Wisdom modifier in healing or damage to that creature a number of times a day equal to your proficiency bonus. This is a fantastic and cheap way to get your tank some extra hit points when they're in the fray, or keep up the heat on a big baddie that just needs to go down. Either way, just make sure you pack plenty of aloe in case your buddies can't handle the heat. And our last Wildfire ability is Blazing Revival. Now, anytime we get knocked out while our Wildfire Spirit is within 120 feet of you, you can instead let the spirit go and immediately regain half your hit points and are brought back to your feet as you rise from your own ashes like the phoenix of old. Metal as dude. But wrapping up on some Druid stuff, 18th level makes us pretty much immortal as our aging process becomes insanely slow. We can cast spells with our paws while Wild Shape with amazing Druid spells like Investiture of Flame, Firestorm, or Incendiary Cloud. And finally, 20th level makes us an Archdruid, allowing you to cast Druid spells without verbal, somatic, or material components, which is pretty bananas on a full spellcaster. But does the Wildfire Druid bring the heat? Man, is there a lot you can do here. The Wildfire Druid is that special blend of glass cannon and support that you don't often see in D&D, but you excel in both keeping your allies up and moving, as well as wearing down bad guys with super consistent damage. I also love the theming the Wildfire Druid brings to the table, and whether or not you decide to lean into it, I think the idea that you occupy a different space in the circle of Druid circles, being more about balance than just preserving nature, is pretty cool. My only complaint with this subclass is more of a 5e thing as a whole, and that's that fire damage is one of the most resisted damage types in the game. So if you have a DM who's a bit mean, they could hinder your ability to do well by throwing you a bunch of enemies that can nope off your fire spells. But even then, your ability to support the party is good enough that you can just rely on that most of the time, so it's not that big of a deal. The real strat, in my opinion, is to strap your Wildfire Spirit to the biggest guy in your team and send them running straight at the bad guys together, as you can essentially give your teammate a free teleport that also deals extra damage, and at later levels shoot spells from your little buddy, meaning you really never have to be anywhere near the action to be effective in combat. And while you never really have to multi-class, dipping into Drake Warden and Pact of the Chain Warlock can give you like 3 or 4 familiars at a time, so you can pretty much play a Pokemon trainer, and I think that's fire. So if you got into hot yoga for the relaxation, have a lifelong grudge with Smokey the Bear, and know that the best way to hunt in the woods is just to get rid of the woods, guess what? You might be a Wildfire Druid. Hey guys, thank you all so much for watching. This vid, like all vids, was a ton of fun to make, so I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Another subclass will be on the poll tomorrow, so make sure to vote for that. And if you want to see your favorites show up on there soon, make sure to shout them out in the comments. Also, if you want your name up here on screen like these awesome people, you can always hop over to the Patreon. You can get a shout out for as little as $1, with the highest tiered patrons getting games DM'd by me. So for those guys, Sora's Sin, Spider Lover, Tedzy, King Osiris, and Miles Not Yards, y'all are the best. And thanks for your support. And finally, find me on Discord. We're having so much ding-dang fun over there. But until next time, take care, brush your hair, and I'll see you soon.